Grab your drinks and have a seat. It's time for serial killers.
Well, good for you. Happy Thursday. We're here.
Yellow.
Jay wanted to announce to the world.
I'm getting another 3D printer.
He was all excited. As the intro's going on, he's like, Saturday. It's coming Saturday. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm T.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here not to talk about 3D printers. We are here to talk about
Serial
killers. We're really bad at this. We used to be so good. We used to always be like on cue. And then your voice, even though I have like a low voice, your voice is always lower. So it was like an octave higher for me and you. And we sounded like we were having like a moment, and it is never the same. We never say it the same anymore.
If you go back and actually listen, it's never been right on. I purposely...
No, it is. It has.
Maybe cereal, but when we say killer...
No, it has.
No, I'm telling you.
It's like music to my ears.
I'm telling you, go back and listen to it because I do it on purpose.
Now, we're 97 episodes in, brother.
I know. We're 3 from 100, brother.
Like, I literally just... Like, I've edited every podcast episode, and our intro... and our serial killer combo doesn't work anymore. Just so you know.
We tried to keep it a secret of who we were, but as you guys just heard it, Randy the Macho Man Savage is with us in the studio, brother.
Oh, I'm like, who are you talking
or Hulk
about?
Hogan, brother.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Your brother.
FYI, he's not my brother.
No.
He's my husband. So if you're new here, we're not brother and sister. We're husband and wife, and the way that you just heard us talking to each other is literally our everyday life.
That's how we talk to each other. And the kids are always like,
you're
fight all the time. We're like, no, we don't.
Like, listen, this is how we communicate, and if you don't like it, mind your fucking business.
Yeah, usually when we're doing that, and then the kids are like, you're fighting, we both
laugh.
Gang up on them.
And then we laugh, and then we gang up on them to tell them how dumb they are. No, I'm just kidding. We don't call our kids dumb because that's rude as fuck. But we do tell them like, no, like in what world is that fighting? But apparently a lot of people do think that's fighting, because I've definitely had like my own parents have been like, yeah, you guys like to argue a lot. It's like, but we're not arguing.
No, we just say our piece. We have differences. Like, I don't know.
Always.
When we drink tea and you drink dirt and I drink scrumptious tea, it's like we have difference of opinions.
Listen, I have been with this man for 26 years. Okay. We're celebrating our 26th anniversary this year, but I've been with him for 26 years. If he did not argue with me, I would not I would not be with him. That's just silliness.
It's just the big fights. Like, we used to have those when we were younger, but we don't have them anymore.
We really don't.
They're
pointless.
They're
dumb. We've become...
We'll bicker, and we'll do little snaps at each other, but then it's over and done with. Like,
we're like the most boring couple now. The other day we did get into an argument. Seriously. And Jay sits down across from me, and we're talking to each other. Nobody raised their voice or anything. And at the end of the night when we're laying down, I was like, is that our life now? Like, we were he was genuinely mad at me, and I was genuinely like pissed at him. But not once did we raise our voice, and we literally were like, yeah, well, this is how I feel. And he says, yeah, well, this is what it made me feel like. Like, we just straight came out of therapy, which, by the way, we don't go to therapy. I was very proud of us.
No, I'm bringing you more over to the Italian side where we get mad really quickly and then we get over it very quickly.
I don't get mad really quickly. But if you make me mad, be prepared to never, ever have a normal relationship with me again. Because I hold a grudge. Forever.
All right. Well, speaking of grudges, has nothing to do with it. But
no.
What are you drinking?
Today I am drinking black tea with a little bit of honey. And again, I'm disappointed in it because it's not like when you make it.
I know, because
I almost wonder if you put way too much honey in it, but that's why it tastes good.
I really don't. I go with the honey because I know you don't like it very sweet.
It's weird. I literally put like a little tiny spoonful of honey in it. And I drank it. And when I went to drink, like my first drink of it, I was like, it literally just tastes like tea, which is fine because I like tea. But I wanted a little sweetness. I was looking for a little sweetness and it's not there.
You wanted to take the little edge off the dirt?
I wanted to add a little oomph to my tea. What about you? What are you drinking?
Well, you stole it because I foreshadowed it by talking about tea. But yeah, I am also drinking a black tea with my sugar in it because that's the way I like it.
Because he's out of Milos.
All out of Milos, but I wanted something hot because it is still, even though it
is not cold. Don't
no,
try
but
to
it
say
gets warm during the day, but it gets
sunny.
It's definitely cold overnight.
Well, no, it's
And
only
then-
cold for you because you work
and
from home
if
downstairs.
If you don't interrupt and let me finish, I work downstairs where it's cold. I don't feel like leaving the space heater on there all night long. So in the beginning, it's cold. I drink hot stuff.
Okay, well, that's where we're at. Okay.
Yeah.
This is why we live our life this way, because Jay works from home. Do you know we're around each other almost 24/7? That's how I feel too. And we podcast together. And we go on trips together. And we grocery shop together. And we go on dates together. And Jay works and I choose to stay upstairs most days, but he, for God's sakes, comes upstairs at least 5 times a day.
Yeah, because when I don't, you're like, why don't you just sit downstairs all day? You don't even come upstairs. Yeah, so I come upstairs and I get my drink and I say hi to you and I talk to you for a minute and then I go back downstairs.
Well, and it's going to get worse because now that he's getting a 3D printer, I'll never see him upstairs because he's already got one downstairs and he spends literally all the free time after work downstairs 3D printing stuff and playing video games. So, yeah, that's our life.
And doing puzzles and watching shows. But you're down there with me for that part of it.
Sometimes. Anyways, we are really not here for like a marriage.
No, if you guys made it, this far, we're actually going to talk
Bravo.
about a serial killer. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us. And here we go.
Yes. So we are talking about Peter Manuel.
It's the monster of Berkshire, right? Or something like that?
No, but close.
I glanced at your paper. I couldn't read it upside down.
It's close. It's the Beast of Birkenshaw.
Oh, so close. Birkenstocks.
Now, he has 9 to 12 victims. His murder dates are January 1956 to January 1958. His location is Scotland and England. His method of murder is shooting, strangulation, and bludgeoning. And characteristics of his murders are rape and robbery. Peter was born March 13th, 1927. Where would he be born if this was in Scotland?
In Scotland?
In New York. He was born in New York. He was the second of 3 children, and he was born to his Scottish parents, Samuel Manuel and Bridget Manuel. Now, I am going to point out really quick, we went through a debate on this. I'm going to spell out his last name. It's Manuel. And Jay, I asked him, well, why is it Samuel, but his last name's Manuel? And then Jay said, well, maybe it's Samuel Manuel, because it's spelled the same way, just as S versus an M. So bear with us, because I don't know. This is Scottish.
Or it's just the way it's pronounced. How many
words? Listen, I'm
in,
American.
I know. How many words in English do we have that are spelt with same letters but mean completely different
I'll
things?
be honest with you. The way that it's spelled to me, it would be Manuel, because Manuel is spelled differently than that. It's spelled with an A, not an E. So for me, I'm saying Manuel. But his name is Samuel, which in the United States, we say Samuel, not. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so in 1932, his family ends up moving back to the United Kingdom, and they move around for quite a bit. They can't really settle down. And eventually, over the years, they find a place to settle into, and that is Birkenshaw, North Lanarkshire. Now, throughout most of his childhood, he is bullied. Again, stop bullying people, because sometimes I swear these serial killers turn into serial killers because they've been bullied their entire life. Don't be a fucking bully. He also ends up becoming a child who liked to steal a lot. He had very sticky fingers. And I mean like a lot. Like he spent a lot of time stealing from people.
He was the original member of the Sticky Bandits.
Yeah. The Wet Bandits. Oh no, Sticky Bandits for number 2.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're the Wet Bandits. At 10 years old, the local police had already deemed him a petty thief. Like they knew of him. They hadn't arrested him, but they knew of him. They knew that he had a tendency to steal a lot, and he was only 10 years old. Now, at the age of 12, he does actually get charged for, and he does actually get caught and charged with numerous things. This included theft and indecent assault. And he actually escaped from the Borstal, which is a youth detention center, like a type of youth detention center in Scotland in the United Kingdom. On 10 different occasions, he escaped from this Borstal. So he was in there multiple times and he escaped at least 10 times. That's not to say he was only in there 10 times. That's just the times that he escaped. At the age, like again, between the ages of like 12 and like 16, like that's how many times he had been caught doing stuff and he was put into these youth detention centers. Now at 15, he attacks a young woman in her own home. He breaks into her home. He wakes her up. He uses a hammer to beat her after he pulls down her underwear. He does actually get caught for this, and he does some time at Leeds prison. So at this point, he's 15, so he got a prison sentence, not sent to a Borstal. Now, he does go on to attack multiple women over the years, like a lot. But he doesn't get caught for a lot of those women. This is what he does. On February 16th, 1946, he's 19 years old. Peter breaks into a home. Now, the police are somehow informed that either somebody broke in or something weird is happening at this home. I'm not really sure how they knew that he broke into this bungalow, but they did. Somebody had called in. So the police show up to this bungalow and they go inside. And they realize there's stuff in this bungalow. So clearly somebody is living here, but they can't find anybody. They decide they're going to start taking a bunch of the stuff that they find to come back, to take it back to the precinct to try to get fingerprints on it, to maybe see who it is that's, I would want to say that they're squatting in this bungalow. So they can't find anybody. They pack up a bunch of shit. They leave. Well, a little later that day, one of the detectives that was on this specific job, he starts thinking about what could possibly be going on. How could they not find somebody? Somebody clearly lives there. And he's like, oh shit, did we grab that cup? Because a cup would be a really good way. You're basically going to have fingerprints on a cup. Let me go back and grab that cup. So he goes back to the bungalow to go grab the cup. Well, as he does that, he sees this dude coming out of the garden area going towards the bungalow. So he confronts this guy and he arrests him. And after he arrests him, because he knows Peter doesn't own this bungalow. So after he arrests him and talks to him, he finds out that Peter had been living in this bungalow for quite some time. And that when the cops had showed up the first time, Peter had actually hidden in the wall behind wood paneling during the house being searched.
So he's just in the wall.
He was.
Trying not to breathe hard.
Now, he does get brought down to the police precinct. Now, I am not sure I'm sure they arrested him for maybe trespassing, but there had to have been more because he was being held and then they let him go on bail. I don't even know if you can go to jail for trespassing most of the time. I don't know. I don't know what the laws in Scotland are. It wasn't clear why he was held and then released on bail. So that means he had a hearing. But he is let out on bail while he's waiting to go to his hearing. Now, during that time, he actually commits 3 assaults and he ends up receiving a total of 8 years for, again, I'm not sure if it was for the assaults or the trespassing because they don't say, but all I do know is that he does end up getting convicted of something and he receives 8 years in prison and he had represented himself. Like he took it upon himself to represent himself. Now, this was 1946, the beginning of 1946. So most likely he was put to trial sometime in 1946 because back then they always did the court process like quick.
Yeah, I feel like it was a lot quicker then than
Hell
now.
yes. You're not waiting like 4 years for somebody to go to jail for a crime that they did. So I'm going to just assume that he got 8 years in 1946. He was released the summer of 1953. That is not 8 years if you are able to do the math. That is 6 years and actually 5.5. Okay.
But to be honest with you, 5.5, 6 years of an 8-year sentence is longer than some people have gotten we've talked about.
That's true. Now, by the age of 30, He has had multiple convictions for burglary. He has had assault charges and convictions, and he has had rape convictions as well. After he is released from prison, one of the times that he's gone to prison, he ends up finding a job as a woodcutter. And it didn't pay him enough to live, so he would also burglarize and steal from homes to supplement his income. So he never stopped being a thief. Like, he had sticky fingers from the age of like 10. This kid is stealing everything. January 2nd, 1956. Peter attacks Anne Nealons. Now she's 17 years old, and he basically grabs her and drags her to a golf course in East Kilbride. He rapes her, then he uses a piece of iron to bludgeon her to death. Now her family had assumed that she had stayed with a friend after a dance because she had gone to a dance on like a Friday night. She didn't come home, and they were like, oh, she probably stayed at, so-and-so's house, as you did, when you're in high school. And they didn't think anything of it until 2 days later, January 4th, when she still had not come home. So they call the police and file a missing persons report. Now, police do end up finding her body on the golf course. And for some reason, they do end up questioning Peter. I don't know what made them question him. Well, actually, I do. That's a lie. I remember I didn't write it down because it was something I found out afterwards. So when they were interviewing people who had worked at the golf course, there was also some construction and stuff going on. They had interviewed people. Well, one of the people who worked at the golf course or was a construction, I'm pretty sure it was one of the construction workers, had said one of his employees was somebody who had gone to jail for rape. So they go and talk to Peter because that makes a lot of sense, right? So they go and talk to Peter. He's like, yeah, I had nothing to do with it. And they ask him multiple questions. They're really suspicious that he had something to do with it. However, his father gives him an alibi and he is let go. Now, September 17th, 1956, Peter enters the home of Marion Watt, who's 45. Her daughter, Vivian Watt, who is 16, and Marion's sister, Margaret Brown, who's 41. He proceeds to shoot all three women to death. Now, during his time that he's killing these three women, he's actually out on bail for a burglary charge. So again, this is another one of those stories where it's like, if he would have just kept his motherfucking ass in jail. I don't know why a rapist is walking around so much freely in Scotland. We have it in the United States too. I don't know why people who have been charged with any sort of sexual assault, rape, whatever, why they're able to freely walk around the world. I don't know. But that is what's happening with him. Now, police do consider Peter actually as a suspect. They actually do look at whatever evidence or whatever, and they're like, well, it could be Peter. But instead, they decide they're going to arrest William Watt, who is the husband of Marion, who was not home at the time. Now, he actually does eventually get released, but it takes them 2 months to release him from jail. So why did he have to stay in jail for 2 months, but good old Peter was walking around freely after being not just one burglary charge? Like, again, he's out on bail after having multiple convictions of burglary, and he got charged with burglary. That should just be an automatic, you stay your ass in jail, right? So on December 18th, 1957, Sydney Dunn, who is 36, is a taxi driver, and she is killed by Peter, or at least he is suspected of this. It has never been proven. She is shot to death, and her body is dumped on the moorlands in Northumbria. Now, by the time her body is found, Peter had left the area and moved on to Lanarkshire. My understanding is, and if any of you are from the United Kingdom, let me know if I'm wrong. My understanding of this is, for those of you that don't live in the United Kingdom, that Sydney Dunn's body being dumped on the moorlands in Northumbria was actually in England. Okay, so this murder was in England, and then after he killed her, he left and went back to Scotland, which is in Lanarkshire. And so that was really hard to connect him. I think that's part of the reason why it was so hard to connect him to her murder, because it's not where he was. However, there were reports of him being in those areas at that time, right? Now, on December 28th, 1957, Isabel Cook, who is 17 years old, she disappears on her way to a dance at a local grammar school. Peter abducts her, rapes her, then strangles her to death, and he buries her body in a nearby field. Then on January 1st, 1958, Peter Smart, who's 45, Doris Smart, who is 42, and Michael Smart, who is 10. All three of them are shot and killed in their home in Uddingston. Now, after Peter murders the family of 3, he lives in their house for about a week after he kills them. He even did things like feed their family cat and ate their leftovers.
So he just took over their lives.
I guess. Now, when he did finally leave, he took the family's car and brand new banknotes that he had found in the family's home. On January 13th, 1958, Peter is arrested after using those same banknotes in a bar. The bartender looked at the banknotes and thought, this is weird that this guy has these. Now, I promise you I'm not stupid. I have no fucking idea what a banknote is. In my mind, it's money. But I think my understanding of banknotes is not right, because money, why would anybody be suspicious of somebody having money? And if it's brand new money, why would that trigger somebody to be suspicious? So I'm not really sure what a banknote again, this is in 1958. So I'm not really sure what a banknote in Scotland is.
Yeah, banknote is currency. It's like their cash.
Right. So why would that? I can't figure out why that would trigger the bartender to call.
Maybe because they were brand new or something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Or maybe they were super large bills and he just assumed that the guy was poor or something. Like, I'm really not sure. But that is what triggers him to call the police. So police end up showing to the bar. They talk to Peter. And this leads, after them having a discussion with Peter, this leads to them charging him with 7 counts of murder. So somehow, some way, these banknotes are literally the reason he got caught. Which again, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe the banknotes that he had were like rare. Like maybe they were rare, but like I have no idea.
So from what I found, and again, this is just what I'm grabbing on the internet real quick, is banknotes are... So, like, banknotes in Scotland are pound sterling notes, and they are legal currency throughout the UK. They are not technically legal tender, even in Scotland, but are widely accepted. So, by the sounds of it, it's like money, but not the official money. So, he was probably like, well, why do you have these type of monies?
Maybe. But regardless, thank goodness the bartender got suspicious. Because, again, it leads to them having a conversation with Peter and having Peter basically be arrested on 7 counts of murder. So he has a trial on May 1958. Again, this is what I'm talking about. He was arrested on January fucking 13th and his trial started in May of the same year. This is not some Koberger fucking 4-year bullshit, right? This is like, here we are. He ends up being found guilty of all of the murders that he was charged with, except for Anne's murder, which is the very first girl that he killed. And the reason was they didn't feel there was sufficient evidence to convict him. Just wait till my shots. Now, he did also represent himself in this court as well, after he fired his defense team. Former defense lawyer later commented and said, and I quote, "But my impression was he was displaying too much knowledge of the case to be innocent. That's a common failing among people who defend themselves." So basically what they're saying, what this defense lawyer is saying, is this guy had so much knowledge of what they were charging him with, there's no fucking way he was innocent to those crimes.
Yeah, like probably bringing stuff up that like wasn't in the news or shit like that.
Right. Now, he was sentenced to death. Now, on July 11th, 1958, Peter was hanged at 8:35 a.m. And again, July. His fucking shit ended in May. They did not waste no time in the 50s.
Back then, quicker, less population.
I guess. So he was hanged at 8:35 a.m. His last words were, "Turn up the radio. I'll go quietly." I always like to hear their last words because some of the shit's like, what?
Interesting.
His final meal was fish, chips, tomatoes, tea, and brandy.
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips. Okay.
Let's hear those shots.
We do have some shots. Okay. It has been said that Peter, did you see a picture of Peter?
No, I have
Okay.
not.
This will not surprise. So again, I say this all the time when I want you to look at the picture. If you're listening to this on anything other than Apple Podcast, you should have a picture of a man as you're listening to this. That is Peter. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcast, do yourself a favor real quick and just Google Peter Manuel, because this totally fits once I say this and after you've seen him. Peter, it was claimed that Peter was fascinated with American gangsters and may have even tried to act as if he were one. If you were to look at him,
which I'm doing right now,
you tell me if you're like, oh, 100%, or nope. Because I'm going to tell you, when I saw him, that was one of my shots that I found later. And I was like, until I found out he was from Scotland, I actually thought he was like an American gangster.
Oh, yeah. He wore the hair and everything. And
right? I was like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah, he looks definitely.
He definitely looks mobster gangsterish, but he was not. Now, Peter did also have a girlfriend for a while, and they had even planned on getting married. However, she does end up cutting off their relationship and their marriage or their engagement because she finds out that he has a criminal record. Probably a smart decision on her part. Now, 2 years after the murder of Anne, so remember how I said, wait for my shots?
Yep.
If we remember, he was not found guilty of Anne's murder because of insufficient evidence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years after the murder of Anne, so after he gets, caught or whatever, he actually confesses to killing her. But because they said it was insufficient evidence, they dropped the case. I'll never understand that.
Confessing
is not. I understand. I've actually seen this happen before, where people like serial killers will confess, and they'll like, well, we can't corroborate that this is right, so we can't charge you, which I'm assuming is what they did. But in my mind, it's like, well, if they're gonna confess, just fucking slap the goddamn shit on their wrist, then that's it, right? Like that's how it works. But that's why I said wait for that. Now, after killing the Smart family, which was his last set of murders, he actually ends up, as I said before, he took their he took their car, he took the family's car. He actually ends up picking up a policeman who needed a ride because his car broke down. And he was investigating the disappearance of Isabel Cook, this police officer was. So as he's driving with this police officer, they're talking about the disappearance of Isabel Cook. And he's talking about it with this police officer. And he says to the police officer, I just think you're looking in the wrong places.
I wonder if that police officer woke up, looked at himself in the mirror and was like, maybe it's time for a career change.
Like for real. Because I'm like, if somebody starts asking you 21 questions about what you're doing in a disappearance, that's like red flag number one, that they're trying to get information. I am somebody who is very, very interested in true crime, but I would never go to a police officer and ask them to give me all their information.
No.
That is not, I'm only looking for the shit I find publicly. And most people would not. That's the whole thing. But people who have committed crimes sometimes insert themselves into the investigation to find out how close they are to getting caught.
Sure. But I also think back in that time too, that time
well,
frame,
that wasn't something
people were
they thought
nicer.
about. That's true.
Had conversations.
That's probably true too. Now, Peter was the third to last person to...
Unless he was like, you're looking in the wrong area,
That is how I feel like they talked, because it was in the 50s, I'm not going to lie, with his cigar hanging out of his mouth. Peter was the third to last person to ever be executed in Scotland. Because after that, the last person, that it's not, they don't do executions in Scotland. Remember, this shit was done in the 50s. Okay? So after this stuff is all done, and, his case is closed, they sealed the documents for this case. And I'm talking like pictures, evidence, testimony, all that sealed. They sealed the documents for this case until 2033. That shit was done in the 50s.
Damn.
And so what that typically means is that the documents contained some serious, gruesome allegations, maybe even some seriously gruesome photos, and they didn't want them to be released to the public until 2033. After anybody who possibly could be involved would not be around anymore. So we still can't even look at them.
Crazy.
We still have 7 years before they might be able to unseal them. Now, in 2008, a man named Dr. Richard Goldberg from Aberdeen's University Law School, he actually made claims that there was evidence about Peter's mental health that was suppressed during his trial after he had decided to represent himself. He said that there was actually an electro something done on his brain, and that there were indications of frontal lobe epilepsy, and this was something that was supposed to be presented at the trial. Now, I want you all to hear very clearly what I'm saying. They said frontal lobe epilepsy. The frontal lobe has some responsibility for, anybody know?
Your frontal lobe is for your emotions.
Partially, yeah, for your emotions. And so his whole point is, had they presented this to the jury, would they have maybe said, ooh, hold on now. This man has some problems with his brain. He might not be able to control some of the emotional outbursts and things that he did. And therefore, would it have led to them maybe not putting him to death? Now, it was not presented at trial because Peter chose not to present it. He literally was like, yeah, I ain't telling them that. I actually don't know if he said that or if it was more like he didn't think it was important or if he just didn't care. I think, if I'm being honest, for the time frame that this happened, I do not think that EEG result would have changed the jury's mind. Because you got to remember, this is the 50s where mental health was not understood as much. I mean, it was understood, but not to the extent that we have knowledge today. And there was, again, the death penalty was still relevant in Scotland, and people would not allow, at least I don't think people, we're talking 30s, 40s, 50s, they used to tell people that if you have somebody who has a disablement, to hide them from the world. If you look at the Kennedy family, one of their daughters had a disability, and they decided that they thought it would be a good idea at that time, because they hid her from the world for a while, to go ahead and give her a lobotomy to see if that would fix her. So that's the world that we were living at the time. So I would assume that most of the people on the jury would not care that he might have something wrong with his frontal lobe. And again, they knew, though, at the time, they did know that, in the 50s, they did know that the frontal lobe helped control emotion. They did know that. But I don't think that it was in a world that we live in now, where I think now, if that would have been the case, you would see a lot more people going, okay, well, hold on. Do we kill people because they can't control their tendencies? Or more importantly, the diagnosis he probably would have received would be that he would be a sociopath, because he doesn't have the proper emotions. Right. And then for that, then you have people who are like, well, if they can't control their emotions and they don't have emotions, can we put them to death? Those kind of things. In my opinion, as somebody who constantly talks about the mental health side of things, I think if you're deemed a sociopath and you kill people, sure, if the death penalty is on the table, yeah, you can definitely have the death penalty for that. I'm only a proponent for not having the death penalty on the table for people that have psychotic episodes or psychosis that can cause them to go on killing sprees and have them have voices and shit that tell them. That's not a sociopath. Sociopaths just don't have emotion. They don't know. They're not able to process emotions like we are. So that's not a reason to kill somebody. And if your emotions are fucked, I'm sorry. That's just, but if you don't want to give him the death penalty, that's fine too. Then just keep him in jail. I don't care. But I'm just saying, I don't think back in the day I don't think that would have made a difference whether he showed them that evidence or not. Final shot. There was a poem that Peter had written while he was in jail, and I figured I'll share it with you. However, I didn't write it down, so I have to open my book because it's long. It's long. It's not long. It's okay. It's long. It's okay. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I was going to say it's long in length. Of course it's long in length. I could have typed the whole thing out. I thought I'll just read it out of the fucking book. It makes more sense. So this is a poem that was written by Peter while he was in jail waiting, while he was on trial. And they found it in his cell after he died. I am Peter Anthony Manuel. In Barliney jail I lie, awaiting on a high court jury to sentence me to die. I know the jury's verdict will sentence me to death, for I'm Peter Anthony Manuel, the foulest beast on earth. I know you read your papers and shall read about my crime. I have not caused the death of one, but have caused the death of 9. I'm looking for not sympathy, for don't you realize I'm Peter Anthony Manuel, a reptile in disguise. I murdered Isabella Cook and young Ann Nealons too, shot the Watts and shot the Smarts, and Sidney Dunn I slew. I did these deeds without a doubt. My guilt was found by law. I'm Peter Anthony Manuel, the rat of Birkenshaw. I wonder who the hangman is, since Pierpoint's gone away, but I know that I shall meet him on that ill-fated day. That day I'll get breakfast. I know I'll get no lunch, for the law must have its pound of flesh, and they can hang me only once. And when I'm dead, they'll bury me in a pit of burning lime, but my name will live forevermore in the storybook of crime. And when they write my epitaph, these words they shall be seen. Here lies Peter Anthony Manuel, Scotland's Frankenstein. And I'm assuming because it's Scotland, maybe it's Frankenstein, because that like kind of rhymes with scene. So that was his poem that he wrote while he was on trial before his verdict was found guilty. And in that poem, if you heard, he actually admitted to killing 9 people.
Yep.
So I would venture to guess that he probably killed at least 9 people.
Yeah.
He put it in there. He admitted to killing all the people that they charged him with. And if you notice, he does actually say that he killed Sidney Dunn, which is somebody that they never officially charged him with, because they did not. I don't think they linked them together. However, afterwards, when they found this, that's when they started adding her to his list of victims, because he literally admitted to it.
He admitted it, yeah.
So anyways, I thought that poem needed to be shared because it's his own poem. It's not hearsay. It's what he wrote in his prison, in his cell while he's waiting on his trial. So I'm just going to take that shit for the word that it is. And that's it. That's it. That's the story of Peter Manuel.
It's an interesting story, to say the least.
So if you like what you hear, if you like listening to Jay and I chit chat, banter, and bullshit about serial killers, please make sure you're following us. And if you think anybody you know would like to listen to us, we would love it if you would share it with them, because we like to get it out there for the world to hear. And we appreciate you and your ears for listening to us.
Yay.
So other than that, I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for listening to us tell you the story about Peter Manuel, the Beast of Birkenshaw.
Yeah.
Until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to lock your doors and bar your windows. Until next time.